Good morning, pilots, and welcome to a pilot review. My name is Professor Zest. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. This is going to be kind of impromptu, just kind of flying off the cuff on this, but today we're going to be looking at one of my matches as Skyraider. Going to be kind of doing a review on it, looking back at the actual gameplay, seeing how everything went. In this match, I actually lose. And I did some good things, but I also did some not-so-great things, strategy-wise. So I kind of wanted to take a look at it and, you know, just see where things go, see what places I can improve in, and hopefully help other people improve in their own strategy as well. Games like this have a pretty high skill ceiling, where a lot of the combat is pretty simple to understand, but there's little intricacies within all of the other interactions between mechs and strikers and whatnot. So it's good to look back at your gameplay every once in a while and just take a look at it. So we're about to jump into Vigil Imbrium. I believe this is one of the key missions, if I'm remembering correctly, where you have to go grab keys as they spawn while also trying to keep the key out of the enemy player's hand.
Obtain keys from 3 data terminals to seize the base's main turret. A key will periodically be generated at one of 3 data terminals. Seize and upload the keys to the turret before your enemy.
So at the start of this match, you're going to see kind of like my signature thing that I like to do. With aerial units, I like to just kind of transform and go right into flight mode immediately and try to find a little bit of a tricky like sneak around point, which you'll end up seeing right here. I don't really sneak too much, but it helps me get a layout of where the enemies are and where I can approach from. Don't go too far on this one. So all of them are kind of spawning up here. So my first instinct is to try to get as much damage as I can just on a bunch of various things. Okay, so one of the things that I'm going to go over real quick, for some reason it's not letting me rewind, but you can rewind the video back if you would like to kind of see what I'm talking about. So first mistake that I make in this video is I end up accidentally pressing my transform button while I'm trying to ascend. And in doing so, it ends up making it so I have to very quickly change my strategy, because the initial idea was, okay, I see the Panaka, I want to try to mess around with the Panaka, and if I can, kill them. However, that ended up derailing very quickly, and because I fat-fingered the transform button, and had to kind of think on the fly and change my approach. However, that led me to seeing that their Tricera was actually all the way up on that ledge, up on the top of the hill. And so the first strategy in my head from there is to actually go, okay, let me go annoy the Tricera, and let me see if I can deploy the jamming missiles in order to mess up his targeting and hopefully get him off of that perch, because a Tricera or a Stego or any high DPS tanky guys like that are just going to have a field day if they stay up here. And from there, that ends up leading me into chasing down this Falcon, and all of that was in a semi-fluid motion. I say semi because I messed up the transformation. But it went from, alright, I need to go target the Panaka, to crap, I accidentally ended up hitting the transform button, and now I am moving towards the Tricera, and well, now that I have, you know, disrupted his FCS, it's time for me to go pick on someone else, and that's where we're at right now. So right there ended up being an overcorrection on my end. I'm going to try not to pause as much as possible, but when there are things that I personally am trying to take note of, I'm going to sit there and go, Okay, that really wasn't smart of me to do. I missed my first shot because I was at an awkward angle following that Falcon. What I should have done is maybe done a loop when I saw them doing maneuvers so that I could stay within range of them and not have to be at such an awkward angle trying to shoot at them. But one of the things that I want you to take note here is while I am definitely still chasing this Falcon, as I am doing that, my eyes are up here 100%. 100% they're up here. However, as I'm flying forward, I see this Aquia. And the reason why I'm highlighting this is because I noticed that he has Panaka's shield on him. And one of the things for me personally playing Skyraider is I have a feel and a strategy idea of as soon as I see a Panaka shield on someone, I want to take it out as quickly as possible. That's the person I want to target. And you can see that the Panaka is right here as well, trying to help them out, and they're kind of harassing the Welkin right here. So I quickly pivot over to this Aquia just to see if I can get some sort of damage on that shield. And then as soon as I do a little bit of damage, I go over to the Falcon, try to get some shots. Now, the thing with this is I see this Tricera over here. I know that the key hasn't deployed yet. However, the Tricera is trying to set up shop ahead of time before the key actually ends up getting deployed so that he can be a little bit of a fortress and try to stop our advance in case we get the key, or help their advance if they get the key. So I pivot to the Tricera just so I can get some sort of damage, and the other part of it is I do not have a lot of energy. You can see right there. I don't have a lot of energy at all, so I can't really stay in that fight over there for as long. And because of that, I end up pivoting over to this Tricera because I know that I can create a little bit of distance in between me and him and get my energy back while also being a little bit annoying and making it not as easy for him to survive. Go ahead and break the FCS with the disruption missiles. And as a Skyraider, it's actually very important for you to do that. For those of you who do not know, similar to Skyraider, Tricera in turret form actually has these little drones that protect him from missiles and other things like that. And it has a pretty far range too. So if I didn't try to do that disruption on him, then anything I did after that point as a Skyraider would have been almost completely void because his defenses would have taken out any of the missiles that were coming his way, which is primarily how Skyraider does most of the damage. And now that I've annoyed him a bit, I'm going to go back over to my teammates and see if there's anyone I can harass, which, funny enough, almost always ends up being the Falcon. I lose sight of him a little bit here, but I also know that Skyraider is much slower than Falcon, so I can just kind of hold S and stay on top of Falcon this entire time, kind of hovering over him, very similar to the boot camp challenge, if any of you guys have experienced that. But I'm able to stay on this Falcon. I don't have a lot of energy, but I have just enough to ensure that I'm able to take them down and kill them, which is very important. Right now we are behind the enemy team, so I'm trying to just kind of harass as much as possible. I see the Stego. He has Panaka's shield. Focus on that. Now, one thing that I will say here is I end up tunnel visioning... Now, one thing that I will say here is I end up tunnel visioning very hard on this Stego, and this was a flat-out mistake on a strategy case. This ends up being something that I just kind of sit here, don't really help the team much. I end up just kind of messing around with the Stego, and the big issue with that is they have the key. And all they have to do, if you are familiar with the game mode, is stay within the deposit point, and they will actively get points, and they'll actively upload the key. So this was a mistake on my end, strategy-wise. I should not have messed around with the Stego too much. I should have disengaged after I saw that they had the key, and should have tried to regain my energy or join the fight elsewhere. But you can see, like, his health is so low that in my brain I'm like, if I can finish off this Stego, then it'll help the team out. But I end up just, like, I end up staying way too long. And now the Aquia on their team is also attacking me. I believe I do end up killing the Stego, but it just took so much time away from me being part of the fight. And that Aquia is still harassing me, which I end up, you know, trying to evade the Falcon that I poked a little bit, and from here, now go to harass the Aquia. Now again, all of this happening while I wasn't 100% paying attention to... I wasn't 100% paying attention to the key upload, and they now have a lot of points ahead of us. Now, the one good thing that I did here is now that I'm fighting the Aquia, you can see me deploy my disruption missiles and maneuver around them, because I know I'm fighting an Aquia. I know he's going to try to hip fire me, so I want to stay near this as much as possible, because these disruption missiles diffuse a lot of the... laser damage that Aquia does. Even if he gets a full charge, it'll most of the time block that laser damage completely, so I kind of have a safety net here. And my Elysinus comes over to help out, and this ends up being something where I'm able to keep a distance away from Aquia, keep him in front of me as a Skyraider, that's incredibly important, and get the kill on him. Harassed a Stego a little bit, but this Stego, man, he was tricky to try to take out. Deez, good understanding of Stego and how he needs to play. At this point, I feel like I overstayed my welcome a little bit too much when it comes to the Stego. That was ends up getting hit by the Welkin, which, to be honest, was incredibly lucky that it pushed me all the way down to the ground, because he had to stay in his box while I didn't have to stay in my box. So that was incredibly fortunate for us. Now, at this point, I see how... I'm not even paying attention to the intercept. This is a complete fumble on my end. I'm not even paying attention to the actual intercept. I'm actually thinking a little bit too much ahead, and thinking, I think we've already lost that intercept. We lost that key. I don't think we're gonna get anything. So I actually planned on moving to A right here, and defending it to almost try to guarantee that we get the next key. Because at this point, I'm like, we have absolutely no points. We haven't been able to do anything. I need to just do what I can to try to get this next key. And the issue with that is that I'm out of the fight with my team for like 35 seconds, 40 seconds. This is such a long time to just not be contributing whatsoever to the actual game. Now, I know there's a Falcon nearby. I don't know if there's anyone else, but I know that there was a Falcon nearby. And this Panaka ends up pulling me off of the key right before I'm able to get to it. So, Panaka primarily having a laser-based arsenal, I'm like, okay, disruption missiles need to go out 100%. And I'm just kind of harassing it, making sure that it cannot get the point as well. Now, one of the things that you might notice is I'm actually firing a lot of the area of effect missiles, his alternate fire, Skyraiders. I'm firing it a lot in a dumbfire type of way. I'm not waiting for a lock-on. I know that he wants to grab the key, so a lot of this time during this fight, I'm actually firing and aiming that area of effect missile that you can see right here. This big thing right here, I'm firing that dumbfire just into the area of where he has to stand to obtain that key, just so that I can delay, see if I can make it so that my teammates can get here, because this turned into something that was maybe a free grab into now I am 1v1 against a self-shielding Panaka and in enclosed space, which is not great as Skyraider. Now here, I didn't need to jump up. If you guys know, you can fully hold and charge laser weapons, and they can shoot through hard surfaces, so I probably could have cheesed it a little bit. But Panaka comes back, gets me at about half health, and right here, I end up seeing this Falcon come in. I don't know if the Falcon actually knew that I was there or not, but the moment he comes in, he's immediately next to that Panaka looking for heals. I see that do a hard pivot and is just a free kill off a Falcon because he's at such low health. Now you can see me activating the cluster missiles that I have when I'm in flight mode every once in a while. Once again, they're very ineffective here just because of how close quarters everything is. And I'm just trying to do my best to get to the key, help my team out. Now my entire team is over here. Welkin actually stuns that Panaka and gets the kill, but that stun is huge because it makes it so that that Panaka cannot actually disrupt me while I'm trying to grab the key. So now my only objective is I need to get to I need to get points as much as possible. I need to just sit here, rack up points, survive as long as possible, and that's the only thing I'm worried about, which actually leads me to a mistake here, because I'm just boosting around in a circle, just doing whatever I can, go right into this Welkin. Now at this point there's not much that I can do. I'm in a Welkin box. Maybe I could have used my disruption missiles right away and helped with the targeting, but yeah, that's my first death, and it's because you can see here I'm just dashing back and forth. I have no rhyme or reason. He's able to cut me off and take me out pretty easily. Now at this point, we get ourselves to just under half of the points that they have, so maybe one more key and we can at least get close to tying the game up or taking the lead. So I spawn in, this Falcon attacks me, I go into my aerial form to try to eat up a lot of those missiles. Primary focus is just to harass this Falcon a little bit. Once again, as Skyraider, you want to try to keep them in front of you as much as possible. End up getting stunned out of this, eating a bunch of damage, and at this point, I end up kind of freaking out. This is pure panic. I start flying away, activate disruption missiles. Absolutely not what you want to do. But get back in the fight. See, Falcon is most likely out of energy, because why would they be on the ground? And just completely focus. Do as much damage as possible. Make them use that energy that they just regained, and just harass them. Again, as Skyraider, you want to keep everything in front of you. You are not going to win the mobility battle against Falcons. You're not going to win the mobility battle against some of the melee guys. You want to keep altitude, and you want to keep everything in front of you. Here is where I do a maneuver that I think is pretty good. I don't remember if it ends up working for us, because I think we have too many people down at this point. We have our Elysianus that is dead, and we have our Welkin that is dead. So my goal is to try to cause as much disruption as possible, at the very least on the site of where the key is being grabbed. So I make a maneuver here that I'm actually kind of proud of, but it's a little bit too little too late type of a thing, because of the fact that we already have 2 people down and they are swarmed on this point. So you can see me make an approach, fire a Tricera, activate my disruption missiles, which actually disrupt multiple people, do some damage on the Stego, but they already have the key, they're already gone. I was hoping that that disruption would end up helping it a little bit more, and once again, I don't know what it was with the Stego, but that Stego had my attention like crazy. I fully don't understand what it was. But as you can see, I was focusing a little bit too much on the wrong targets in a lot of cases. Ended up doing a little bit too much to try to outmaneuver strategy, and just didn't end up working that well. But as you can see, I ended up with a 7.7 combat rating, which would have been much higher if I made a couple of different decisions, but ended up being second valuable player. I think that's what SVP means. I'm not 100% sure. And yeah, that Stego, I was way too focused on that Stego during this game. It is what it is. Let me see here. I'd like to see the ending stats, which I think I end up moving to in just a second here. But this fight with Panaka, you can see my transition over to the Falcon, guarantee the kill off of that, and continue harassing the Panaka. And then that's the kill that I had on the Falcon because they didn't have any more energy. But yeah, like I said, there's some good things here, but there's a decent amount of bad strategy as well that I just was not paying attention to in the game, which happens, you know? There's going to be a lot of games that you end up not really paying attention to the full strategy that you end up doing, and you end up kind of getting tunnel visioned. Their Welkin did ridiculous work, though. I mean, that's just insane. But yeah, 5-1-1. Unfortunately, our Falcon, I'm not gonna lie to you, I didn't even know that we had a Falcon half the time. I didn't even realize that we had a Falcon in our game, which you can kind of see by the stats. And it was a little bit unfortunate for me personally, because I main Falcon, and to see that, I was like, oh, come on. It couldn't have been that bad of a game, could it? But yeah, so kind of to recap, one of the things that I'm taking away from this, that maybe you guys can take away from it as well, is that there we go, there's the stats. So adjusted damage was pretty good. Damage taken was the lowest, but again, yeah, even on the other team, it was the lowest, but again, I kind of attribute some of that to that, like, 45 seconds that I just wasn't existent in the match. And yeah, so key takeaways here, right? Key takeaway is that I got tunnel visioned way too much on the Stego. I don't know what it was about the Stego that was making me tunnel vision. I think it was just bad threat assessment and not prioritizing the objective in this specific case. But bad prioritization of targets. However, on the good side, I did make some good maneuvers. I did make a 1v1 interesting with that Panaka, and even in tight enclosed spaces, I was able to hold my own as a aerial unit that primarily wants to have a little bit of distance between him and the target. And did a couple of good things against the Tricera a couple of times to maybe help the team out, but overall I ended up, even though I was the SVP, I did also not help the team out in a couple of situations because of the prioritization of targets and the strategy that I did. So biggest thing that you can take away from this, that I take away from this, is just make sure that the prioritization of targets is correct, and make sure that when you are going through the process of playing these games, that you are taking a look at the good things and the bad things that you're doing so that you can improve, because a big chunk of this game is just understanding exactly what it is that the interactions of the mechs have, and which targets you should be going for. Because again, remember, this is an objective game. This is not TDM. You're not trying to go for kills. I know that I run into that a lot of the time, but yeah. Anyway, that is the first video of these match reviews that I'm going to be doing. I'd love to do more. if you guys have any clips or anything like that you'd like me to review, if you'd like me to review full matches, or even if you want to sit in a Discord call and we can live watch together one of the matches and we can talk about, you know, what your decision making was, why you decided to do this versus this, and we can both learn off of that, then I would love to do that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please give a like, subscribe if you feel like this is content that you'd enjoy. I would love to continue doing this type of content, and especially for this game, there is a very high skill ceiling that I believe anybody can reach. It just takes a little bit of time and understanding of how to get there, but I'm sure that you'll be able to do it. But thanks again. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. I will see you in the next class. Thank you. Bye.